Hazbin Hotel Season 2, specifically episodes 5 and 6, fixed one of the biggest characterization issues I had with the show for almost 2 years now. And I'm talking about Vox. If you're one of the 3 people that have been following me for a while, thank you by the way, you may remember I made a now quite cringy video back in 2024 about Valentino, and although I did touch on his relationship with the other V, I didn't really share my grievances with him and the way it was written because it just wasn't the focus. Now, however, I feel like that's kind of necessary because I was proved wrong and I'm extremely excited about that. So, Vox used to be one of the weakest characters in the show in terms of writing, but he was also my favorite from day one. This is not only because I'm a huge Christian Bale fan and we will absolutely discuss his outstanding performance later, but because of his concept and potential. Vox is the media overlord, a big brother figure of sorts, an all-seeing leader. This comes through in his distinct TV head design, which, even amongst all the personas, makes him one of the least human-looking characters. And I absolutely dig that. I love the idea of a cold, almost robot-like charismatic villain. However, that unfortunately does not come through in Season 1, at all. We first meet him in episode 2, and his introduction is undoubtedly pretty solid. He manages to handle the press when he's questioned about the extermination, and we get to see his power to hypnotize crowds in action, along with his ability to calm Valentino down later on, which highlights his persuasion skills. And then, he finds out Alastor's back in town and immediately humiliates himself in State Gone by talking mad shit only to a little blue screen after a few jabs from his rival. Now, his hatred for Alastor had to be established in some way, as it's his biggest weakness, but at that point we had seen so little of Vox's character that it was impossible for me, personally, to see him as a threat, including his appearance in the finale, where we see the Vees' reaction to the fight with the Exorcist, where he mostly just acts like a football dad as Alastor gets his ass beat by Adam. We see him and Val singing about a power vacuum, and how the future of Val belongs to them. And while we can all comfortably agree that the music and choreography slaps, it rings hollow because Vox, unlike Valentino and Velvet, has virtually no impact on the plot in the first 8 episodes of the series, and what we actually do see is kind of pathetic. So, when it was announced that he was going to be the main villain of Season 2, I highly doubted that the writing team would be able to make him intimidating. I was wrong, and thank God I was. Vox is the best part of the new episodes. I think it's the best thing that ever came out of the show, even. Before the season aired, a certain song actually introducing the Vees came with it. I'm talking about Hazbin Guarantee. If you've been on the internet for the past 2 months, you'll know I was pretty skeptical at first. But get the fuck out of my building aside, this was truly only a matter of trusting the process. We get a stark contrast between Charlie's idea of the hotel and her desire for peace, and the way the Vees chew people up and spit them back out in the entertainment industry. And I'll say this plainly, the Vees, especially Vox, downright carry this season, almost putting the hotel crew and Heaven to shame in my opinion. We get to see them in a meeting similar to the one that follows State Gone. The dialogue is snappy, they have chemistry, and we get some very effective exchanges that truly show us how horrible they all are, such as this one.
You cannot keep hitting angel dust in public. It's... no, it's not funny anymore.
What's the point of this meeting, you may ask? Well, Vox wants to start an uprising among sinners to conquer heaven. It's a tall order, but he chooses to sell the pitch to his partners through what I consider to be one of the best songs of the series once we get up there. Musically speaking, it works perfectly. It's catchy, a bit sinister, and do I even have to mention that Joel, Lily, and Christian deliver absolutely stellar performances? Where the song really shines, though, in my opinion, is in its lyrics. Vox convinces Valentino and Velvet with what they want most. Sex for Val, growth for Velvet's label. But what does he want? Well, Vox wants to be God. And I mean that in the biblical sense of the word, as we'll see later in Vox Day. He is the first character in a series that features Adam, Abel, and Seraphim angels to say the word God with a capital G. Once we get up there, the shining kingdom of God, no more petty squabbles with the dead as we scroll the Golden Promenade. I feel like this is extremely significant. Even in the song that showcases the bond that he has with Velvet, his egomania overrides their chemistry from the very start. Did I believe he was ever going to make it? No, not a chance. I thought it was going to get immediately obliterated, but that's the point. It should sound crazy, and now I was really looking forward to where they would take this. The next time we see our TV headman is in episode 3, when Charlie contacts Voxtag to have a reporter interview her about redemption. Instead, the Vees, minus Valentino, show up at our door. This is a problem, because no one, and I mean no one, is happy to have them there, especially Angel Dust. But Charlie doesn't respect his wish to have them leave, and misguidedly tries to redeem him in front of Velvet and Vox to prove their return is plausible. It goes sour very quickly when they fail, at which Charlie realizes that the way to redeem a sinner is to clear up their biggest sin. And it's here that Vox drops some very intense information on Angel's sin.
What exercise could one do to be forgiven for being Stop! Murderer?
You shut the fuck up! Don't you dare call me that!
Killed your dad, right? At least that's what Val told me. What did he do? Hit you?
Hey! That's enough!
This scene surprised me quite a bit. Vox has always represented an incredibly cartoonish kind of evil up to now, and here we see a kind of cruelty and violence that we usually attribute to Valentino, something that will be immensely amplified in episode 6. Nonetheless, Charlie finally stands up to both he and Velvet, and they leave. I don't have much to say about their appearance here, other than the fact that aside from the scenes with Angel, Vox and Velvet are a very entertaining duo, one we haven't seen much of up to now. Episode 4, however, this is where it gets quite interesting. Remember how important Stayed Gone was to establish Vox's burning hatred for Alastor? Well, we finally get to explore the relationship in full when part of Alastor's plan to free himself from his deal with Rosie is to offer one to the media overlord himself, and apparently end their years-long rivalry. He will be his prisoner as long as Vox doesn't lay a hand on Charlie Morningstar. And Vox immediately accepts, without question. He parades him around town, flaunting his victory, not even thinking about the risk that the deal entails. Now, here comes a scene that provoked a lot of discourse online. Because after what was probably Vox's best day ever, it's implied, or rather shown quite plainly, that he also made Alastor watch he and Valentino have sex. Some people thought that this was in poor taste, and obviously we can all agree that it's sexual harassment and that it's morally reprehensible, but I don't think that it was meant to be funny. And this is not to bash anyone who felt uncomfortable while watching, because yeah, I was too. But what I interpreted this scene to be is an almost visceral way to represent Vox's desire for control, and how much he wants to boast about said control. Valentino is probably considered to be one of, if not the most desirable sinner in all of hell, and Vox desperately wants Alastor to see that he can have anything and anyone that he pleases. It's yet another way to assert himself. That is, until Elle finally reveals the origin of Vox's all-consuming hatred.
You need me to join your team! And here I thought you might actually be approaching my level, but asking for assistance? A partnership? I am quite disappointed in you.
I just thought, since we're friends.
Friends? There are no friends in hell, Vincent. I thought that was something you understood.
I mean, I'd be angry too. But let's put a pin in this and circle back to it later, because after we'll see Vincent's backstory in episode 7, it'll become abundantly clear why this rejection is so impactful. So, Vox is finally driven over the edge again. Do we get another Stayed Gone moment? Not really. We get Don't Forget Reprise. Sam Haft, who co-wrote all the songs for Hazbin, has stated on TikTok that DFR is structured in layers. It obviously reprises Don't You Forget, but it's also accompanied by Once You Get Up There, the finale song of Season 1, and even Stayed Gone. Vox's character has been given the Heather Duke treatment in Off-Broadway Heathers with Blue and Shine a Light. He, by nature, is derivative. He steals other melodies, so to speak, only this time, he's the one in control. Now I'm the master, and you're my bottomless bitch. No more El de High and Mighty now that I've flipped the switch. Though the radio's gone dead, you know the show must go on. By the time I've had my fun, you'll wish that you would stay gone. Vox has won in his mind, and yet he's not satisfied. His plan is not over yet. And in the next 2 episodes, we'll finally get to see the full extent of his power to manipulate the masses. Before that, however, I need to make a small call to action. Do you love music? I mean, who doesn't? We were talking about music just now. Are you looking forward to expanding your taste? Well, my dear friend on Air 63, one of the best emerging trap artists based in Milan, has released a banger single called Runaway, here on YouTube no less. Even if you don't understand the language, his flow does not need a translator. Give my buddy a listen by clicking the link in the description and I promise you won't regret it. Davide, ti voglio bene. Told you it was a small call to action. Okay, alright, back to our Square King because we have a lot to get through. So, the news of Vox's victory quickly spreads around hell, especially because, well, he controls the network, and it manages to catch the other overlords' attention. Bad with Us is overall considered to be pretty mediocre by the fandom, it seems, which is a shame because it's not only incredibly catchy in my opinion, but it showcases Vox's biggest talent really well. He's incredibly persuasive. Valentino and Velvet are reduced to background vocals at this point as he takes center stage, drastically switching genres and pitches to appeal to different overlords. You could call it a silly and seemingly benign version of what will happen later in the episode, almost to prime the audience for Vox's biggest display of manipulation. Meanwhile at the hotel, Charlie is incredibly distressed about the narrative that's been painted of her by the Vees after episode 3, so Vaggie resorts to asking Lucifer himself for help. It's here that we learn that Lucifer cannot actually smite sinners, it's part of his eternal punishment. But Vox wouldn't know that, and a threat from the King of Hell himself should be terrifying enough. So he shows up during his rally, during the first part of Vox Populi, and it doesn't work. The next 2 minutes and a half of the song are just perfectly executed manipulation, as I said before. Vox does have the power of hypnosis, and yet he never once utilizes it here. He could just force the public to side with him, given how influential he is, but he doesn't need to. He wins them over with all the right words. He lumps himself in with the crowd, even though he's an overlord. He calls himself the voice of the people. He encourages their righteous desire for justice after 7 years of genocide. And he is right, but his words ring hollow to the audience because we know his motives, and we know that he's in no way in tune with the needs of the people. Vox was a cult leader in life, and this is exactly how cults start, with a cause that seems noble. Rehab, self-improvement, connecting with nature, finding belonging in a tight-knit community, identifying vulnerable people, in this case, people who have been indiscriminately targeted by exorcists and fear another attack, only to exploit that same tension to destroy the relationship that Charlie has been building with Heaven. And Heaven does intervene as well, to apologize, with gift baskets. I mean, I can see how that could possibly seem a bit offensive, and especially how that could corroborate Vox's points. He exemplifies the worst of hell. Power-hungry, cruel, sadistic, yet by now, the people see him as their voice personified. And as the saying goes, the voice of the people is the voice of God. Vox Day is the best song in Hazbin Hotel Season 2. Hands down, no questions asked. It reprises Lucifer's part in Vox Populi, but it's slower, more menacing. You can hear the backing choir singing his praises if you listen close enough. He stated before that sinners do not need a king, yet this is where he establishes himself not only as a king, but, again, as a god. He mimics the seraphims with his screams. Shockwave, his shark, floats around him, and while we can all agree that Vox is generally pleasing to look at, this is the first time we see him as monstrous. The biblical imagery reappears again. He calls himself the Flood and the Omega, practically implying he's the end of Heaven's realm. He also calls himself the Führer, which is obviously a wordplay on the title of Footed. Christian Borle is, again, unspeakably good in this role, and what more can I say? This was everything I wanted from this character and more. A genuinely intimidating, unapologetically evil villain. However, episode 5 marks the end of his rise and the start of his inevitable downfall. Alastor has been slowly driving the Vees apart from the inside, exploiting Vox's need to prove he doesn't need support from a team. His relationship with the others is something I haven't touched upon that much yet, and I think it's time to discuss it more in depth. What makes Vox human is his undying hatred for Alastor. Without it, he's infallible. He can keep his partners in line, even share what seems to be a pretty genuine relationship with them. The egomania I was referencing earlier is incredibly enhanced by the radio demon, and with him in close proximity, Vox cannot think straight. He goes to unimaginable lengths to prove that he can carry out the plan on his own, so much so that the closeness we saw him once we get up there, even if he and the others are all brought together by cruelty and greed, is dissipating. It's at the end of episode 6 that we get an incredibly intense scene, however, because Vox asks Valentino to borrow angel dust for a while. Do you remember how I said that Vox is easier to like than Vel because he's cartoonishly evil, and how that gets put into question in episode 3? Well, this is the climax of the concept. Angel steps into a motel room, expecting a client, and instead, he gets Vox. He's savagely beaten and electrocuted before we find out that he's been hypnotized by Vox since what seemed to be episode 4 of season 1, being made to be an unwilling spy for the hotel. This is how Vox knew Lucifer couldn't do anything to him. He has not only violated Angel in a sense, and ruined his safe haven, but he's also extremely giddy about the fact that it'll destroy Charlie. This is a really hard scene to watch, and while you're obviously supposed to hate Vox, I can't help but love the way it's been written. And it really does just get better and better. We end episode 6 with Angel in the Vees' hands, and Lucifer has been tricked by Vox, impersonating Charlie's voice to kidnap him. And so he does in episode 7, as Lucifer is necessary to activate an angelic weapon that can break down heaven's walls. Vox is finally alone now, and we get what is possibly a close second to Vox Day in terms of music. Brighter is yet another completely original Vox solo, and it revolves around his backstory. Vincent used to be a presenter when he was alive, quite literally killing off his competition, stealing their clothes, their shows, forming his own little influential group, an aquarium, the place where he and all his members met their demise, his dad crushed by a television. The arrangement is amazing, getting progressively discordant and intense as he gets closer to death. Brighter truly makes us understand why Alastor's rejection was so impactful, because Vox has always resorted to violence to get to the top, and most importantly, he has always wanted to get to the top alone. His proposition was genuine and vulnerable, born from admiration and love instead of envy. I would have liked to see more of Alastor and Vox pre-rejection to make it even more significant and draw a comparison to his relationship with the Vees now, but I get they didn't have much time. However, something I did love is how well it's shown they both deeply know each other, which aids Alastor in his plan to free himself from his deal. He manipulates Vox into inviting Charlie to the party he and the Vees are throwing to make the public watch him take over heaven. And he does. Vox wants Charlie to publicly endorse him, using her father and friend as leverage. At this point, the hotel crew splits up to save Angel, destroy the weapon, and prove redemption is possible, with the help of Emily. Vox gets the upper hand once more by hypnotizing the crowd, showing a complete loss of control from Vox Populi, and it's here that we understand Alastor's plan in full.
You absolute idiot!
What the fuck is going on? Get back in your chair!
You swore not to lay your hands on Charlie, but you just couldn't help yourself, could you? You fucking creep. You're always doing that, and I hate it!
What, this?
So, now that Vox is the most powerful sinner in hell, Alastor is free from his deal with Rosie, and we can all finally see the fight we've all been waiting for. I have to say, I don't usually enjoy fight scenes at all. I do find them to be quite boring actually, but this one really had me on the edge of my seat. Vox's demon form is perfectly uncanny. I love how much they play with the design this season. Things don't look great for him, however, so he calls in Shockwave, who does protect him against Alastor, but also sends him flying back to be towered by his tail. The hypnosis has stopped this effect, and everyone finally recognizes Vox as a traitor. He doesn't care, however, continuing to fire the weapon trying to take Alastor out once and for all. One is reminded that if he sends it off, he'd not only kill half of Heaven and Pentagram City, but himself as well. We get one of the best written scenes in the whole show.
Idiot! If it overloads, it will blow, taking you, us, and half the pentagram with it.
You know what? Fuck hell! Fuck heaven! And fuck all of you! As long as I wipe that smile off Alastor's fucking face, I don't care what happens!
Vox has lost it. Not only his mind, but all the control and power he held up to now. He's injured, his clothing is torn, everyone has turned on him, and he's crying. He's crying. The only other time we saw him cry was when he was rejected by Alastor. This wasn't only a blow for his massive ego, something he's always retained, don't get me wrong, he still is a monster, but it was a reminder, a very, very painful one at that he's human. He'll always be human. And humans are denied things. They get their heart broken sometimes. Vox wants to be God to destroy what little humanity he has left, and that humanity is solely tied to Alastor. If he can't be God, he'll destroy himself and everyone with him instead. However,
Fuck! You are not fucking killing us over that stupid deer! It's over, you dumb fuck!
after months of listening to his ramblings, even they have had enough.
I'm a fucking god! We're leaving!
Some people found this to be quite underwhelming, especially because after the weapon is actually broken down, Vox is just tossed aside in his iPad form and Val pretends him not to know and won't questioned. Vivzipop confirmed Vox will stay an important character up to the very end, however, so I seriously doubt this will be the end of him. He's been humbled now, and it'll be interesting to see where we go from there. See you in 2026 for that. But that doesn't even really matter that much to me right now. I just enjoyed seeing a complex character in this show, one that didn't outright state his full psychological profile like Angel did in Season 1, for example. One that was fun to read into. Watch win everything he's ever wanted before fucking it all up for what is, again, simple human nature. Vox will forever be horrible. There's nothing that can cancel out his crimes, and the show knows that. And we know that. And with that in mind, I am very excited about the direction that he's going to take. If you enjoyed my rambling, make sure to subscribe or check out my other videos, and if you disagree with anything I said, feel free to correct or insult or threaten me in the comments. I would love to hear from you. Thank you so much for sticking by. This has been Bittersweet Tooth. Remember to stream Runaway on 7 different Spotify accounts so my homeboy can get his bag. Arrivederci!